Chapter 9, we're going to talk about chemical bonding. This is the first of a couple chapters on chemical bonding. Here we're going to talk about the Lewis model. So back in 1989, the structure of HIV protease was determined. This is a protein synthesized by the HIV virus, and it's an enzyme that the virus needs in order to reproduce. So knowing the structure of this enzyme, researchers were then able to design several molecules that would disable this enzyme by binding to the active site. An enzyme works kind of like a key going into a lock. There's this particular shape that only certain things can fit into. And so just like with a door lock, if you take a piece of wire or something and jam it in there and it's stuck, then the key won't work and the lock is stuck, right? No good. So to disable this virus, the enzyme in the virus, they found molecules that would bind to that active site and get stuck there and disable the enzyme. They did this using bonding theories. Instead of just randomly trying stuff, which gets really expensive and is very, very time-consuming, they looked at the shape of that active site and looked for molecules that would likely fit in there well, and that narrowed it down to a few things to try, and they were able to find one that worked. So these are called protease inhibitors. They don't cure HIV, but they can reduce the viral loads to the point where they're not even detectable. As long as you keep taking the protease inhibitor, you're fine. It's pretty awesome. Bonding theories explain how atoms bond together to form molecules. As with all theories, they allow us to predict things. They predict the shapes of the molecules. Shape is important because it determines many of the chemical and physical properties of the molecule. It also explains why some molecules are stable and others are not stable. You know, there's H2O and there's H2O2. Why isn't there H5O7? Well, why not? Why can't we just make any combination of elements that we want? Well, the bonding theories help us to understand why some of those molecules don't form, because they would not be stable. It's just not going to work. Different models are useful for different aspects of bonding. And as with many things, there's a trade-off. If you get something that's more predictive, it's also going to be more complex and more difficult to understand. So we're going to look first at the Lewis model. Very simple model, works for a lot of molecules and is much easier to understand than some of the other models. In the Lewis model, we represent valence electrons as dots. And so we call these Lewis electron dot structures. And so we're drawing the molecule as different element symbols with dots. We can predict the shape and we can predict stability using this very simple model.